A young talent emerges from the shadows, 22 years old, a career at a crossroads. One decision will determine everything. Will he secure his place in England's World Cup squad, or will another rising star steal his moment? This is the untold pressure behind one of football's most compelling battles. Welcome to Football News in the World. On this channel, we explore the great stories of sport, the hidden pressures behind elite athletes, and the facts that shape the careers of the world's best players. We dive deep into defining moments. Before we begin, subscribe to the channel, like the video, and turn on the notification bell so you don't miss anything. Every week, we bring you stories that go beyond the pitch, stories about ambition, struggle, and the weight of expectation. Now, let's uncover the real situation facing Cole Palmer at Chelsea. To understand this story, we must first travel back to where it all began. Chelsea Football Club, one of England's most prestigious institutions. A club with unlimited resources, fierce ambition, and a history of nurturing world-class talent. But success here comes with a price. Competition is relentless. Expectations are suffocating, and there is no room for underperformance. Cole Palmer arrived at Chelsea with a specific narrative. He was not an academy product who had grown through the club's youth system. He was an outsider, a player signed from Manchester City's academy, where he had developed under the club's renowned coaching infrastructure. When Chelsea acquired him, the message was clear: here is a young talent with potential. Now prove it. The English Premier League is unforgiving. It demands consistency, physicality, and mental resilience. For a young player tasked with breaking into a crowded midfield, the pressure compounds quickly. Every touch is scrutinized, every pass is analyzed, every game is a referendum on whether you belong. Cole Palmer's first season was marked by brilliance interrupted by stretches of inconsistency. He showed flashes of technical ability. His left foot is a weapon, precise, creative, capable of unlocking defenses with a single pass. His movement off the ball demonstrated intelligence beyond his years. But consistency remained elusive. By early 2026, as England prepared for the World Cup, the conversation around Palmer had begun to shift. The question had evolved into something far more consequential. Would he earn a place in Gareth Southgate's World Cup squad? This is where our story truly begins. England's midfield and attacking options in 2026 were deeper than ever before. The country had invested in youth development. Multiple players capable of playing Palmer's position had emerged. The competition was not theoretical, it was real, immediate, and threatening. Among those competitors stood one name that had become increasingly prominent: Gibbs-White of Nottingham Forest. To truly understand Cole Palmer's situation, we must understand the man challenging him for that World Cup spot. Gibbs-White had taken a different path. Rather than remain at an elite club fighting for minutes, he made a calculated decision. In the summer of 2024, Gibbs-White joined Nottingham Forest, a club in the midst of a remarkable resurgence. Forest, under guidance, had transformed from a mid-table team into contenders. The football was elegant and the tactics were sophisticated. There was a clear pathway to regular first-team football. This decision would become the central axis of this entire narrative. Gibbs-White thrived at Forest. Week after week, he delivered. His performances were not sporadic or dependent on the opposition. A player in form, a player who understands his role, a player who performs under pressure. The road to the 2026 World Cup is heating up, and for England, a new rivalry is taking center stage in the selection battle. Gibbs-White is making himself impossible to ignore. His season at Nottingham Forest has been nothing short of explosive and high energy. From pinpoint assists to relentless defensive work, he has become the heartbeat of his team, catching everyone's eye in the roaring stands. Scouts are filling their notebooks with intensity. The question isn't just about his talent anymore, it's about whether he's forced his way in. Gareth Southgate faces a major dilemma. His selection philosophy has always been a delicate balance between established names and the hot hand. Current form is the ultimate currency. Southgate is often seen watching from the director's box, weighing his options for the upcoming tournament. A visual metaphor tells the story. Talent gets you in the conversation, but current form is what secures your seat on the plane. Meanwhile, at Stamford Bridge, the narrative is more complex. Cole Palmer, Chelsea's bright spark, finds himself in a turbulent and pressurized environment. Despite his undeniable quality, the rotation at Chelsea has left Palmer looking on from the sidelines more often than he would like. The frustration is visible. A player of his caliber thrives on rhythm, but inconsistency in selection can dampen even the brightest stars. There are still flashes of brilliance, moments where Palmer reminds us why he is a world-class talent with that clinical left foot. But those moments are met with tough challenges. Against top-tier teams, the pressure to perform becomes an incredibly heavy weight to carry. The media is already buzzing. Headlines question if a lack of consistent minutes will cost Palmer his starting spot for the Three Lions. The contrast is stark. Gibbs-White is riding a wave of momentum, celebrating every hard-fought win with the Forest faithful in a sea of red. On the other side, Palmer often walks off alone, the weight of Chelsea's season and his own international future clearly on his mind. At St. George's Park, the intensity is rising. Every training session is an audition, every sprint a statement of intent for the national team. Southgate is watching closely. He needs players who are battle-hardened and ready to deliver under the brightest lights in North America. It is a battle of styles. Palmer offers refined, surgical precision, while Gibbs-White provides high-octane energy and match-winning grit. Who would you trust when the game is on the line? The established prodigy or the man currently playing the best football of his life? As we approach 2026, the margin for error is 0, 2 stars, 1 goal, and a selection headache that will define England's campaign. The countdown to the World Cup has begun. Whether it's the blue of Chelsea or the red of Forest, only the best will survive the cut. Gibbs-White versus Palmer. The battle for the shirt is on. Who makes your final 23 for the 2026 World Cup? Gibbs-White, meanwhile, was the embodiment of current form. He had made the right decision to leave the comfort of a big club. He had found an environment where he could flourish. He had delivered when it mattered. He had become a player in form. Why does this situation matter? Why should anyone care about whether Cole Palmer or Morgan Gibbs-White makes England's World Cup squad? The answer reveals something profound about modern football and about how talent is developed and how careers are shaped. First, this is a story about the cost of ambition without direction. Cole Palmer's move to Chelsea was motivated by legitimate ambition. Chelsea is a bigger platform. Chelsea offers greater resources. Chelsea represents a step up the ladder, but bigger is not always better. Sometimes a step up in club size is actually a step backward in terms of playing time and development. The Premier League is littered with examples of talented young players who moved to elite clubs too early and found themselves in crowded squads. They became frustrated by limited opportunities and ultimately saw their careers stall or derail. Palmer has not suffered that fate yet. But his situation at Chelsea in 2026 represents a cautionary tale about the balance between ambition and practicality. Second, this is a story about the power of environment. Nottingham Forest provided Gibbs-White something that Chelsea could not guarantee Palmer: a clear role, consistent selection, and an environment where his performances could flourish without constant competition for his position. The environment shapes the player. The same player into different contexts will produce different results. This is not to suggest Palmer is incapable. Rather, it is to acknowledge that club structure and culture influence what a player can achieve. Third, this is a story about the psychology of selection. International football operates. Simply, if you are not in form, you struggle to make the team. If you struggle when you are young, opportunities become scarcer as you age. Players have windows moments when they must break through. Palmer's window has not closed, but it has begun to narrow. Every month that passes slightly reduces his chances for the future. Fourth, this is a story about the unpredictability of football. Neither player knew in advance how their respective moves would play out. Palmer made a logical decision, move to a bigger club. It made sense on paper, but football is not played on paper. Gibbs-White made an unconventional decision, choose a rising club over an elite institution. It was counterintuitive, but it proved correct. Within the media ecosystem, the narrative has solidified around Gibbs-White's position. Analysts have highlighted his consistency and form. Pundits explore whether Southgate might prefer Gibbs-White's reliability over Palmer's potential. These discussions are the natural consequence of performance. Among Chelsea supporters, there is a mixture of frustration and hope. Some believe Palmer simply needs more time and more consistency. Others acknowledge that if he does not improve in the coming months, his World Cup prospects are genuinely at risk. At Nottingham Forest, there is quiet confidence. The club's supporters have embraced Gibbs-White as a key player in their project. They have watched him deliver week after week. They understand that his performances have enhanced his reputation and his prospects. There is no anxiety, only the natural satisfaction of seeing a player thrive. In Gareth Southgate's mind, the situation is likely clear-cut, though not necessarily final. Based on form and consistency, Gibbs-White has made a stronger case for inclusion than Palmer has. But Southgate is not a man ruled entirely by the present moment. He understands potential. He values long-term planning. Palmer will likely still be in consideration, but he must improve. He must show that he can perform consistently at the highest level. The consequences of this situation extend beyond individual selection. They shape narratives around young English players. They influence how other young talents perceive career decisions. They create a ripple effect throughout the ecosystem of English football. If Palmer fails to secure his World Cup place, the story will be told as a cautionary tale about moving too early to an elite club. Young players and their agents will point to Palmer's example when negotiating with potential suitors. We want to ensure consistent playing time, they will say. We want an environment where our player can develop without excessive competition. Conversely, if Gibbs-White's strategy proves successful, it will validate the concept of choosing the right environment over the most prestigious club. This could shift how young talent is developed and moved across the Premier League and beyond. If you know any information, stories, or little-known events that many people are unaware of, write them in the comments. I may analyze your information and possibly turn it into a future video to explain that story to the world. Football is full of hidden narratives. Behind every player, there are stories. Behind every selection decision, there are calculations and pressures. Behind every career trajectory, there are choices that seemed logical at the time but proved consequential years later. If you have insights into how young players are developed, how clubs make decisions, or any other stories, please share them. So here is where we stand in May 2026. Cole Palmer possesses more raw talent than Morgan Gibbs-White, but talent, as anyone who has ever watched football knows, is only half the equation. The other half is consistency, form, and performance. Palmer's challenge is clear. He must elevate his performances at Chelsea. He cannot continue to rotate in and out of the side. He must establish himself as essential to Chelsea's plans. He must deliver consistently against the best opposition. Gibbs-White, meanwhile, must maintain his current trajectory. One poor month, a few underperforming matches, and momentum can shift. But if he continues his current form, his place in England's World Cup squad appears increasingly secure. The fascinating aspect of this situation is its unpredictability. We do not know what will happen between now and the World Cup. Palmer could deliver a series of brilliant performances and reclaim the narrative. Chelsea's tactics could shift, providing him the ideal environment. Or his struggles could continue and he could watch the World Cup from home, left to contemplate what might have been. Conversely, Gibbs-White could suffer an injury, loss of form, or a change in circumstances that undermines his position. Nothing in football is guaranteed, nothing is permanent.